Hey guys, welcome back to Andertons TV, and I thought whilst the wonderful Chris Buck was here playing with his new band, we should take a moment to see how the rig has maybe changed. So Chris, it's lovely to see you.
Thank you, man.
Welcome back to Andertons.
Absolutely. Every time I come here, it is hotter than Satan's testicles. So
it is hot. It is one of those, we've had an amber warning, haven't we, from the Met Office today or something, which just means it's very hot. So yeah, hopefully you guys have seen Chris's new band, Cardinal Black. Tell me, what's happened with Buck and Evans then? Is that just taking a bit of a break?
Yeah, it was kind of, I guess the timing, obviously with the pandemic, everything just sort of came to a natural lull in everyone's schedules. And Cardinal Black sort of has its origins the best part of 10 years ago. So the first kind of bona fide proper band I was in was very much based around this setup. So Tom on vocals and Adam on drums. And we fell apart, creative differences, all the usual kind of nonsense. And it just kind of left this sense of unresolved, I guess, for want of a better phrase. So just felt like a very natural time to start getting together, legally or not, and start at the kind of beginning just rehashing the old stuff, because they were, I don't know, maybe kind of 15, 16 songs from back in the day.
Oh, cool.
Back in the 1800s, when we first started working on this stuff. But very quickly that turned into new songs, and it just, the timing of the launch was very much planned in terms of we felt like we were on the cusp of getting back to some sense of normality. Whether or not that is or was the case, we'll kind of find out, I guess, in the next few weeks, hopefully. But yeah, the reaction's just amazed us thus far. It's been really well received, which is cool. So yeah, thank you for everyone who's watched or listened.
It's very cool. And now Cardinal Black's a bit more soulful sounding than Buck and Evans. So still lots of big guitar solos.
Obviously.
But a different sound. So I thought, let's just, you're in here, you've got your gear, you've got your pedal board, you've got the amps that you normally use, guitar you normally use.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about how the rig has changed, and perhaps we can hear some sounds between, so what pedals from Buck and Evans have made it through, and why?
I'm fairly unimaginative, to be honest. I mean, the big one, I guess the big obvious one, is the HX Stomp XL by Line 6. That covers all of the more sort of unusual stuff. So you've got trems, delays, reverbs, chorus, etc. Stuff that is fairly specific to specific Cardinal Black tracks. I didn't have that with Buck and Evans. It was more straight up, just kind of varying shades of grey, I guess, in different terms of overdrives. A lot of the same overdrives. King of Tone came across, the Cardinal Black Echo Rec, EP Booster, Trelicopter, there's some stuff underneath as well. Started using the Mythos Molnir. Every time I say that, people pick me up on the pronunciation. Cherry Tone, Centura, the usual kind of stuff, to be honest. That kind of fundamental core tone that I...
Did you have a G2 on the Buck and Evans board? Because the first time you came up, you just had a big board. I think,
did,
with no
yeah.
Switching.
Make way for the board. No, that was the Quartermaster, actually. Good point.
Right.
I've kind of condensed, I guess. That was part of the issue. Like you said, it was a big board, which in itself is a fairly big statement. When you were turning up, maybe you're the support band, or maybe you're not in the biggest venue in the world, and you were turning up and taking up 3/4 of the stage with your bloody pedal board. And I'm getting old, I'm starting to creak and moan involuntarily when I bend down, so I just wanted something that was a little bit more compact, I guess. So obviously the G2 is infinitely more compact, and yeah, Joel just made sense to sort of scale it down, I guess.
Right. We're on. So I kind of want to hear now, what's your sort of go-to rhythm tone then, or just, your sort of the tone that you would typically just accompany the vocalist with? So
the kind of main rhythm tone, I'll tell me how it feels. The track we just did was pretty much the Molnir on its own, so a clean tone. And then with the Molnir, I'm just going to say Mythos from now on.
Isn't that quite refreshing? So just, it's a bit old school, like one drive pedal over a clean amplifier, using the natural reverb in the amplifier.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Absolutely. So that is, I don't know, kind of 50% of the rhythm tone, and then the other 50% then is the King of Tone. I'll stack those together for any, like choruses generally, if you want a little bit more gain, but the King of Tone then, in isolation.
There's more gain on that. It's more compressed, isn't it?
Yeah,
than,
it is.
Than
So then the two of them, the two of them can kind of make up a solo sound if needs be, I guess. So.
That sounds great, and we're not that loud.
No,
You've
no.
got that sense that, you know, tons and tons of sustain. And well, actually, we'll come to the guitar in a minute because you've been using that a lot on the Cardinal Black stuff. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Is the Cardinal Black guitar. Isn't it?
So, I mean, that's 2 pedals, but you've got about 20 on here. So what are the? When do the other 18 get a look in?
Just for show, to be honest.
Just to make you look good.
Absolutely. Let's have a think. What are the other ones? So, tends to be specific pedals for specific jobs then. So, Field Marshal by Thorpe. There's been a bit of a switch around there relatively recently. That was a Thorpe gun shop and a Mythos Golden Fleece, the Fuzz. But we ran a kind of solo competition to promote the first single. So someone actually won my 2 pedals. So at some point I'll try and replace them like for like. But for the time being, we've got a Marvel Drive, which is a kind of Marshall in a box type thing. And then the Field Marshal, which handles the solo for Tell Me How It Feels. So in isolation, stacked with an overdrive then, generally the Mythos.
All the sounds are doing this kind of bloom thing. Is that an intentional thing where the first notes is very compressed and then after like, you know, half a second or whatever it sort of does that? Is that a sound you were going for?
I get hopefully anyway. You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Since it's doing it. Yeah, I guess it's that kind of natural compression. Just makes everything a little bit easier under the fingers. Fuzz in isolation. To be honest, that in particular, the Field Marshal, is very nice in isolation. Isolation. Sound like
Money Penny.
It's Steve McLaren. Yeah, that in isolation. Can't do it now. Isolation. Isolation sounds very nice, but I'm just a big fan of stacking fuzzes with overdrive for that very reason. That kind of bloom and just makes everything a little bit more spongy and lovely under the fingers. So that, like I said, the HX Stomp XL then handles a lot of the kind of maybe kind of weird stuff. I guess the obvious one that gets a lot of use is the harmonic trem.
I love the fact, I mean, I might be wrong here, but it doesn't look like you're using any of the MIDI functionality on the G2. Have you just got an incredibly expensive version of a Quartermaster? Or are you using some of the MIDI functionality?
Pretty much, yeah. It did occur to me when I got it that I might be just better served getting 2 Quartermasters and stacking them on top of another. Dan, to his eternal credit, talked me through every single function the G2 can do, which I then promptly very quickly forgot.
Excellent.
There is a MIDI lead in it, but I don't know how it works or what to do with it really. Again, I phoned them up at some point and they talked me through it all, and it's beyond my capabilities, to be honest. So
it is. I think if you just get used to the idea that, you know, hitting a certain button
it does a certain thing,
then it's quite. But you've got to, you know, it's a leap of faith, isn't it? That MIDI thing.
Yeah.
The G2 has obviously got tons of functionality.
Well, the way the kind of sound is structured usually is it's usually a case of kind of subtracting or adding sounds in, as opposed to any great leaps of kind of change, I guess. So it's usually just a case of either adding in one pedal or taking one away. So that I can handle just a little bit of kind of Michael Flatley in about the place. So so nothing too crazy. The Echo Rec then by Catlin Breads, that is usually actually a Booner by Donna Prince, but the Donna Prince is having a bit of maintenance work on at the minute after my heavy feet put pay to it. So that's pretty kind of which, in conjunction with the reverb, gives that kind of lushness. So there was a moment in the Tell Me How It Feels video we just did there where there was a big kind of, Jack referred to it as the Orca moment, where there's a big kind of that's that kind of thing is what that handles. So it's all relatively straightforward. In regard to the rest of the XL, then we've got tape delay.
Yep.
So, you know, if...
It's good sound.
Nothing that's going to set the world on fire in terms of delay sound. Slapback. It's actually a little bit longer than I was expecting then. It's a very long slapback. Yeah. It's a slap
Just a normal delay.
Yeah. Good point. Freeze, which is the polysustain, I think it is. That gets a lot of use as the track will jump in.
Oh, let's hear that.
Which, let's have a look if we flick that on. What's the kind of textured kind of thing? It was amazing doing that session today, having Jack on board. Those kind of extra textures you get just help fill things out really nicely. So that is for kind of moments where I guess we're just limited to a 4-piece and we haven't got kind of cool key sounds to play around with. So, and then the last sound in the HX XL is just a relatively straight up chorus. Again, for a specific track, well, where'd you go?
Yes, man. It's the year of the chorus.
Yeah.
Officially Chinese year of the chorus, 2021. Wouldn't that be great, actually? Someone needs to do that, actually, like a Zodiac thing of just pedals. Like, I was born in the year of the flanger. And what does that make me as a person? I don't know. So well, that's cool. How different is this rig to the what you would have recorded the album with? Or
that is all the Cardinal Black stuff was done exactly with this pedalboard, running into the aux using the V140.
Cool.
So we did all of the drums and bass at Rockfield in South Wales. Obviously, kind of really cool studio with a really cool history and heritage. And then
is that the one they did the documentary on?
Yeah, there's been a load of stuff with it recently.
So the Oasis and
all the, I think it was Supernova, was it?
And all that.
Yeah.
Cool. Good documentary, that one.
Bohemian Rhapsody, I guess, is the big one and it was in, or at least an approximation of Rockfield was obviously in Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a really cool studio. It's amazing people, amazing location. It's still a working farm, so it's not unusual for a chicken to wander in.
Is it still the two old boys that run it then?
Yeah, or at least one of them, I think Kingsley, is still very much there.
That's so cool.
And we'll pop in for a chat.
I bet he's got some stories.
Oh, absolutely, and he'll tell you them every day if you give him a chance. So we did the drums and bass at Rockfield, and then purely for kind of financial constraints, really just made sense for me to go home and spend 6 months perfecting my guitar parts with no one breathing over my shoulder. So that was all done with the aux and the V140 in my living room, much to my wife's
Because I know when we've spoken before, I know I've texted you and stuff and gone, oh, it sounds amazing, and you've literally always surprised me. It'll be some guitar rig kind of plug-in. You sort of go, no. But this was all proper valve amps and auxes and pedals. And
yeah, there was a bit of guitar rig on there, if I'm honest. For some of the more kind of, anything I wanted stereo effects on, I would just run it into guitar rig as just a kind of little final condiment, I guess. But honestly, I'm so unprecious about stuff like that, whatever gets the job done. I know a lot of people look at that and balk just because it's digital and it kind of has all the kind of little quirks that you get with digital gear, but I mean, as long as I can't tell the difference and as long as it's not inhibiting what I play, then whatever does the job really at the end of the day. So
what's underneath? What's underneath the is because I mean you've got one of these kind of amazing Schmidt array kind of boards. Oh, Black boxes, Cali
Yeah.
76s, there's the Mjolnir.
Yep.
Did we ever give you back your Klon that we blew up? We did, yes,
I've
excellent.
just had it to take back now, and it smells very interesting as well. So yeah, mainly power underneath, a couple of other things. Yeah, just like there's nothing outlandish going on really. It's all just sort of stuff to get the job done really. So yeah.
It's great, it's great. So let's finish up by talking about the guitar.
Yeah.
Because I know you were, lucky enough to work with Yamaha on your own sort of signature version of the Revstar. And prior to that, though, I kind of feel like you said before, this has become like the Cardinal Black guitar. I kind of feel like before this was just one of a few guitars that you'd play in Buck and Evans, and now I don't see you playing anything else. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Strat is still, I've not long got that bloody 62 that I was lucky enough to come by at an auction. After a set of shower curtains, it went up for auction, and I picked it up for a very good price. So I've still got that, and I use that to death. The reason I guess this has become the Cardinal Black guitar is that just with Buck and Evans, a lot of those, well, nearly all of those tracks were written on Strats. So it kind of made sense that I kind of like to play the songs on what they were written on. Whereas a lot of the kind of newer Cardinal Black stuff, especially, just for whatever reason, I was in a bit of a Revstar phase. So it's nice to kind of transfer that through then into your kind of live setup. So there's a lot of Strat tracks and Cardinal Black stuff we haven't released yet. There's a couple of Duosonic tracks. So yeah, just whatever gets the job done at the end of the day. I'm a huge fan of P90s. I think P90s are probably the most versatile pickup that ever has been made. Yeah, it's just controversial, yeah. As well as Strat single coils and humbuckers. So yeah, it's just a great guitar that gets the job done, and it's gold as well, which is nice. So.
What? I mean, I've seen you on your Friday YouTube program that you do.
Friday Fretworks is
Friday
the word, yeah.
Fretworks was, yes.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
I was trying to think to myself, I was just getting confused between Tuesday Talks and Friday Fretworks, and I was going to say, is it Friday Talks or is it Tuesday's Fretworks? I can't remember.
The clue is in the alliteration, yes. I think, either way.
But I often see you and getting some killer tones out of guitars with humbuckers on, Les Paul, 355, stuff like that. And yet, I don't think I can recall seeing you in recent years like actually performing with one of those. Is all of your sound very much needs that kind of softer output from the guitar?
I guess so, yeah. Humbuckers for me, like we're talking about varying PAF clones earlier, they're one of these kind of never-ending sort of tonal hunts I'm on to find the perfect Les Paul or the perfect double humbucker equipped guitar that sounds like all of the cool old ones that I've played. And I've yet to do that. I've yet to kind of have that perfect marriage of kind of looks and tone and sound and everything else. So at some point, combination of different pickups, different guitars or whatever, I will get there. The thing for me, I guess, is that, again, if the tracks are written on guitars with kind of traditional single chords or P90s, that's kind of what it makes sense to sort of gravitate towards in a live setting. But I love that thing that P90s do where you get that sort of raunchiness and that kind of grunt and mid-range of a great humbucker, but you get the subtlety and nuance and sort of everything in between of a sort of single coil. Like I said, I think they are just the most versatile pickup. And it's just nice to have a guitar that sort of you feel comfortable with, or a pickup that you're familiar with and a sound that you know. And irrespective of whatever you plug into, you're going to be able to kind of get a sound that you're happy with. So it's a very vague waffling answer for a sort of a direct question. I bought a really nice guitar recently, a Gibson 355, an all black Shinichi Ubukata signature model, precisely. A Japanese guitar player who, outside of Japan, I don't think many people have heard of. Dave Grohl used one in the video for one of the recent Foo Fighters tracks, so it kind of took off and had a bit of a reputation of its own after that, and I managed to pick one up. And I love that guitar to pieces, so that will work its way.
How's that different to a normal 355?
It's got the diamond bound F-hole, so it's a little bit like a Dave Grohl signature Trini Lopez kind of thing. Vibe, but it's all kind of matte black with a Bigsby and a Veritone, and that's a really cool guitar that sounds great. So that is
write some tunes on that then, maybe?
Yeah, well, that's on the EP as well. The solo on a track called Warm Love, the big epic kind of outro wah drenched thing, is on that guitar. So it's kind of, I get more use out of humbuckers, I guess, in a studio sense than I do in a live sense. It's just transferring it over, and especially not gigging much at all for the last kind of 18 months or whatever it's been, I guess. I've not had a chance to really kind of get to grips with it in a live setting. So as soon as we're back out on the road, which will hopefully be sooner rather than later, yeah, a bit of variation in my guitar choice.
Well, look, good luck, man.
No, thank
I
you.
mean, congratulations as well on being top of the charts with Cardinal
Yeah.
Black Reason, top of the rock charts.
Yeah.
And I remember you sent me a picture, didn't you? It's like you were at number 1, the Beatles were at number 2. I just thought, how unreal is that?
So an indictment on the state of rock music thing these days in itself. But no, thank you, and cheers to my nan who bought the EP clearly to send us to the top of the charts.
Several hundred thousands of them by that, I imagine. So look, thank you very much for coming in. Do you just want to literally play us out with a, you know, I don't know, turn all the pedals on or something and just play us out with a little lick of something or other? We'll maybe put some links below to the pedals that Chris is using. And that's it. Check out Cardinal Black. Links to that below as well. And we shall see you next time.
Cheers, guys.